children. This is Miss Joy. I'm going to be doing a review for your English test on tomorrow. And on your English test, you're gonna have to be able to tell me the characteristics between fables, tall tales, fairy tales, myths, and legends. As and these were included in your videos over the weekend. All right. So fables. The definition is a brief story that sets forth some pointed statement of truth. Origin is found in almost every country, handed down from generation to generation as oral literature. Content usually contains incidents that relate to the unusual, sometimes supernatural. Contains a moral. Please remember that fables do contain a moral. Characters. Characters are often animals or plants given human qualities, but people and supernatural figures may appear. Structure, it lacks development of characters. Examples are Aesop's fables, and we talked about Aesop's fables in class. We talked about the lion and the mouse. Remember? Remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, tall tales. A tall tale is a story with unbelievable elements, related as if it were true and factual. Do you remember what was an example of a tall tale I told you?
The tall.
It was a giant I told you about.
Giant.
What's his name?
He was the hunter.
What was his name?
Beast.
Paul Bunyan. Remember I said he had a bull as a pet?
A bull and a oh.
In tall tales, the origin is usually American folk literature. The content is based on hard-working people, bragging and exaggeration, humorous or witty, seemingly impossible feats. Characters in tall tales are usually people and fictional characters, told to make the narrator seem as if he or she was part of the story. Examples: Paul Bunyan, Davy Crockett, and Johnny Appleseed. Fairy tales and folk tales, and this is what you wrote last night. You wrote your own fairy tales last night. The definition of fairy tale and folk tales: a fictional story that may feature folkloric characters and enchantment. Origin: almost all cultures have folk tales and fairy tales, oral tradition and then written and recorded. Content is associated with children. Characters are usually what in fairy tales?
And fairy.
What kind of characters do you have in fairy tales?
Fairies. Fairies.
Princesses?
Bumblebees.
Well, sometimes goblins, elves, trolls, giants, gnomes, talking animals, princesses, as Nia said, witches, wicked stepmother, fairy godmothers, and etc. The structure usually contains an element of plot. Examples of fairy tales are what? What are examples of fairy tales? What are some examples of fairy tales that you know about? Cinderella, what else?
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell, Rapunzel, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty,
Princess
Princess and the Frog. Very good. Spider-Man is it's more of a
Aladdin.
Spider-Man is a superhero kind of movie.
Aladdin.
It's a good guess on that. Aladdin. Myth. A myth is the definition of a myth is a sacred narrative explaining how the world and humankind came to be in their present form. Origin: almost all cultures have myths. They're passed through oral tradition. Content: closely linked to religion and the explaining of why something is, such as why the camel has its hump, why the zebra has stripes, why the penguin wobbles, all those kind of things. Content: close to characteristics. Characters: gods or supernatural heroes. Structures: elements of plot, personification. Examples: Greek mythology and Roman mythology. Legends. Legends are a narrative of human actions that are perceived both by teller and listeners to take place within human history and to possess certain qualities that give the tale truth. Origin: found in almost all cultures. Content: occurrence of miracles. Characters: real people going through imaginary events. Structure included element of plot. Examples: Beowulf and Robin Hood. Alright, so legend. That is the end of the slideshow. So for your test on tomorrow, what you really want to look at on this slide, you want to make sure that you remember some of the definition. You want to remember the characteristics of a fable. I want to know what kind of characters fables, fairy tales, folk tales, and tall tales and legends usually have. So remember the characters, remember at least an example, and remember some of the definitions. Okay?
Yes.
I don't know why I don't have time listening to me, but y'all get it? Okay. Alright then. Next video.